Samad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Ito Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Jai Gurudev Prabhu.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Humble
Hare
obeisances.
Krishna. Jai.
So I'm also in
So good to
Czechoslovakia, like Kavichandra Maharaj yesterday. So I'm not far away from where he was yesterday. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he
So-
spoke yesterday.
yeah. I listened to his reading yesterday. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. Also, I was very interested in the theme that you've read from the ninth canto about Ganga being afraid of becoming
Oh,
contaminated. That's an interesting
yeah.
point you put. Anyhow, I just wanted to
Yeah.
greet the spiritual warriors who are attending this Hare Krishna Legacy Festival this year. I've seen the
Oh, Hare
poster.
Krishna.
So you're now in Georgetown?
Yes.
Okay, how's the weather?
It's pretty hot. It's just like the tropical.
Tropics,
It's
yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been raining also.
Okay. Anyhow, so
Yes.
I've seen that all the
All right.
spiritual warriors are there, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful festival.
Jai.
So Hare Krishna did what is please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Krishna Prabhupada, all glories to our revered speaker for today. His grace, Jai Gurudev Prabhu, our beloved uncle, great uncle to some of us, and to all the Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. Today is another interesting day. We have one of our uncles who needs no introduction, going to be sharing the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha with us. So we encourage the devotees to be attentive. And for sure, at the end of our discussion today, we're all going to benefit from it. So Prabhuji, without further ado, you may take it over from here. Hare Krishna.
Yes, I have one request, if I may.
Sure.
To be very honest, I think that it would be very, very nice for everyone, including myself, if you would allow me kindly to read chapter 21, 22, 23, just like reading, so that we can get into the core of this story of Kardama Muni, which is incredibly interesting, which starts with today's verse and his acquaintance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Would that be a problem for you? I would just read.
No, not a problem at all.
Thank you very much, because you will see
handle it the way.
it's
Yes.
fascinating. This story is absolutely fascinating, and I would be very enthused and inspired to read it for you, all of us, including for myself. Is that all right?
Sure.
Jai.
Very all right. Yes.
Then we can discuss. Okay.
Yes.
There are some points which will, so the devotees can listen to it. They just can close their eyes and listen.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, dear devotees, with the blessings of the Vaishnavas attending this beautiful legacy festival that you have now in Guyana, and with the blessings of all the attending devotees, I will now read chapter 21, 22, and 23 from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled The Status Quo, and which describes the various creations by Brahma and also by the sons of Brahma. So I will start with chapter 21, and I will just read the verses without the purports. So we're reading Conversation between Manu and Kardama. Vidura said, "The line of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race, whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. The two great sons of Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrata and Uttanapad, ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. O holy Brahmana, O sinless one, you have spoken of his daughter known by the name Devahuti as the wife of the sage Kardama, the lord of created beings. How many offsprings did that great yogi beget through the princess, who was endowed with 8-fold perfections in the yoga principles? Oh, pray tell me this, for I am eager to hear. O holy sage, tell me how the worshipful Ruchi and Daksha, the son of Brahma, generated children after securing as their wives the other 2 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu." The great sage Maitreya replied, "Commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children in the worlds, the worshipful Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. During that period of penance, the sage Kardama, by worship through devotional service in trance, propitiated the personality of Godhead, who is the quick bestower of all blessings upon those who flee to him for protection. Then, this is the verse from today, in such a yuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to that Kardama Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. Kardama Muni saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is free from material contamination, in his eternal form, effulgent like the sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. The Lord was clad in spotless yellow silk, and his lotus fade was fringed with slick dark locks of curly hair. Adorned with a crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in 3 of his hands, and a white lily in the 4th. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood, whose sight captivates the hearts of all devotees. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck, he stood in the air, with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda. When Kardama Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart naturally full of love of God, with folded hands he satisfied the Lord with prayers. The great sage Kardama said, "O supreme worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existence. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nations. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy upon them. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lust for desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by a rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you who are eternal time. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of their affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of material body. Your wheel, which has 3 naves, rotates around the axis of imperishable Brahman. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Though its revolution cuts short the lifespan of the entire creation, this wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of a devotee of the Lord. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes. O personality of Godhead, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yoga Maya. Just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of tulsi leaves. I continuously offer my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant. To give all living entities detachment from fruitive activity by realizing you, you have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. Maitreya, who was speaking to Vidura, resumed. Sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. The Supreme Lord said, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that for which you have worshipped me, wealth through your mental and sensory discipline. The Lord continued, my dear Rishi, O leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. The Emperor Swayambhu Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteous acts, has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 oceans. The day after tomorrow, O Brahmin, that celebrated emperor who is expert in religious activities will come here with his queen, Shatarupa, wishing to see you. He has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage, and she has good character and all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, her parents will come to see you, who are exactly suitable for her, just to deliver their daughter as your wife. That princess of holy sage will be just the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. She will soon be yours and will serve you to your heart's content. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you. And through the daughters you beget, the sages will duly beget children. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain me. Showing compassion to all entities, all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as all the universes in me and myself in you. O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. Maitreya went on. Thus, having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovara, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier, Garuda. You can just imagine the hymns which are vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier, Garuda. Wonderful. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kardama stayed on the bank of Bindu Sarovara, awaiting the time of which the Lord has spoken. And now comes the next episode. Swayambhuva Manu, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it, with them, he began traveling all over the earth. "O Vidura," said Maitreya, they reached the hermitage of the sage who had just completed his vows of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. The holy lake Bindu Sarovara, flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. It was called Bindu Sarovara because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by an extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. The shore of the lake was surrounded by clusters of pious trees and creepers, rich in fruits and flowers of all seasons, that afforded shelter to pious animals and birds, which uttered various cries. It was adorned by the beauty of groves of forest trees. The area resounded with the notes of overjoyed birds, intoxicated bees, wandered there, intoxicated peacock, oh, loudly dance, and merry cuckoos called one another. Lake Bindu Sarovara was adorned by flowering trees of Kadamba, Champaka, Ashoka, Karanja, Bakula, Asana, Kunda, Mandara, Kutaja, and young mango trees. The air was filled with the pleasing notes of Karandaka ducks, plavas, swans, ospreys, waterfowls, cranes, chakravakas, and chakoras. The shores abounded with deer, boars, porcupines, gavayas, elephants, baboons, lions, monkeys, mongooses, and musk deer. Entering that most sacred spot with his daughter and going near the sage, the first monarch Swayambhuva Manu saw the sage sitting in his hermitage, having just propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblations into it. His body shone brilliantly. Though he had engaged in austere penances for a long time, he was not emaciated, for the Lord had cast his affectionate sidelong glance upon him, and he had also heard the nectar flowing from the moon-like words of the Lord. The sage was tall, his eyes were large, like the petals of a lotus, and he had matted locks on his head. He was clad in rags. Swayambhuva Manu approached and saw him to be somewhat soiled, like an unpolished gem. Seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. After receiving the sage's attention, the king sat down and was silent. Recalling the instructions of the Lord, Kardama then spoke to the king as follows, delighting him with his sweet accents. "The tour you have undertaken," said Kardama, "O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtuous and kill the demons, since you embody the protection energy of Sri Hari. Swayambhuva Manu is the protection energy of Sri Hari. When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god. Swayambhuva sometimes does it. The moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god of presiding over the waters. All obeisance to you, who are none other than Lord Vishnu. You see, Swayambhuva Mani is representing Lord Vishnu, Sakshad Hari. If you did not mount your victorious jeweled chariot whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fierce sounds by the twanging of your bow, and if you did not roam about the world like the brilliant sun leading a huge army whose trampling feet cause the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the Varnas ashrama created by the Lord himself will be broken by the rogues and rascals. Not to forget, Swayambhuva Mana is the author of Manu Samhita, the law book of Krishna. If you gave up all thoughts of world situation, unrighteousness would flourish. For men also would hanker only after money would be unopposed. Once again, if you gave up all thought of world situation, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish. In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, Swayambhuva Manu, the purpose for which you have come here. Whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation. Chapter 22. Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, that means the greatness of Swayambhuva Manu, the sage became silent, and the emperor, Swayambhuva Manu, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows. Manu replied, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his face created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification. For the protection of the Brahmanas, the thousand-legged Supreme Being created us, the Kshatriyas, from his 1,000 arms. Hence, the Brahmanas are said to be his heart and the Kshatriyas his arms. That is why the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect each other, as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effect, is yet immutable, protects them through each other. Now I have resolved all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects. It is my good fortune I have been able to see you, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. That means that Kardama Muni is not that easily seen. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet. I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. My daughter is the sister of Priyavrata and Uttanapad. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities. The moment she heard from the sage Narada of your noble character, Kardama's noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you. Thereupon, please accept her, O chief of the Brahmanas, for I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect fit to be your wife and take charge of your household duties. To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. One who rejects an offering that comes of its own accord, but later begs a boon from a miser, thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others. Very wise words. Swayambhuva Manu continued, O wise man, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy, which means Kardama didn't want to accept sannyas at that point. The great sage Kardama Muni replied, certainly I have a desire to marry, and your daughter has not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage according to the Vedic system can take place. Let your daughter's desire for marriage, which is recognized in the Vedic scriptures, be fulfilled. Who would not accept her hand? She is so beautiful that by her bodily luster alone she excels the beauty of her ornaments. I have heard that Vishvavasu, the great Gandharva, his mind stupefied with infatuation, fell from his airplane after seeing your daughter playing with a ball on the roof of the palace. For she was indeed beautiful, with her tinkling ankle bells and her eyes moving to and fro. What wise man would not welcome her, the very ornament of womanhood, the beloved daughter of Swayambhuva Manu and sister of Uttanapad? Those who have not worshipped the gracious feet of the goddess of fortune cannot even perceive her. Yet she has come of her own accord to seek my hand. Therefore I shall accept this chaste girl as my wife on the condition that after she bears semen from my body, I shall accept the life of devotional service accepted by the most perfect human beings. That process was described by Lord Vishnu. It is free from envy. Now, at the very start of chapter number 21, the previous chapter, we have read that Maitreya Muni was describing to Vidura the offspring which was propagated by sexual intercourse. So here we are already in very high level descriptions of the first or the most noble sexual intercourse between Kardama Muni and his wife, would-be wife, Devahuti. The highest authority for me is the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom this wonderful creation emanates, and in whom its subsistence is and dissolution rests. He is the originator of all Prajapatis. The personality is meant to produce living entities in the world. Don't forget that Kardama is also one of the Prajapatis. Sri Maitreya said, "Oh, great Vidura, the sage Kardama said this much only, and then became silent, thinking of his worshipable Lord Vishnu, who has a lotus on his navel. As he silently smiled, his face captured the mind of Devahuti, who began to meditate upon the great sage. After having unmistakably known the decision of the queen as well as that of Devahuti, the emperor most gladly gave his daughter to the sage, whose host of virtues was equaled by hers. Empress Shatarupa, the wife of Swayambhuva Manu, lovingly gave most valuable presents suitable for the occasion, such as jewelry, clothes, and household articles, in dowry to the bride and bridegroom. Thus relieved of his responsibility by handing over his daughter to the suitable man, Swayambhuva Manu, his mind agitated by feelings of separation, embraced his affectionate daughter with both his arms. The emperor was unable to bear separation from his daughter. Therefore, tears poured from his eyes and again, drenching his daughter's head as he cried, "My dear mother, my dear daughter." After asking and obtaining the great sage's permission to leave, the monarch mounted his chariot with his wife and started for his capital, followed by his retinue. Along the way, he saw the prosperity of the tranquil seer's beautiful hermitages on both the charming banks of the Saraswati, the river so agreeable to saintly persons. Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments. Now is a description of Swayambhuva Manu's kingdom and his capital city. The city of Barishmati, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Bor, as you have read in the chapter 19 and 20. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusha grass and kasha, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifice. Manu spread a seed of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Having entered the city of Varhishmati, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence. Emperor Swayambhuva Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, and early in the morning every day he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart. Thus Swayambhuva Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in a Krishna-conscious atmosphere. Consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life, consisting of a Manvantara era, was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord. He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages. That means 71 times 4,320,000 years. Phenomenal age, Swayambhuva Manu. Always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus, he transcended the 3 destinations. Therefore, Maitreya says to Vidura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Krishna in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and others, men, and living creatures? In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashramas. That means Manu Samhita. And now, Maitreya still adds, I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of descriptions. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti. Now we come to the chapter 23. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. O Vidura, Devahuti served her husband with intimacy and great respect, with control of the senses, with love and with sweet words. Working sanely and diligently, she pleased her very powerful husband, giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. Thus, she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. Now speaks Kardama Muni to his wife Devahuti. O respectful daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, today I am very much pleased with you for your great devotion and most excellent loving service. Since the body is so dear to embodied beings, I am astonished that you have neglected your body to use it on my behalf. Kardama continued, I have achieved the blessings of the Lord. There's some problem? No. I have achieved the blessings of the Lord in discharging my own religious life of austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. Although you have not yet experienced these achievements, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them all to you because you are engaged in my service. Now just look at them. I am giving you the transcendental vision to see how nice they are. Kardama Muni continued. What is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are subject to the annihilation simply by a movement of the eyebrows of the Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and enjoy transcendental gifts, very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Now, Maitra continues. Upon hearing the speaking of her husband, who excelled in knowledge of all kinds of transcendental science, innocent Devavati was very satisfied, her smiling face shining with a slightly bashful glance. She spoke in a choked voice because of great humility and love. Sri Devavati said, My dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all the infallible mystic powers, because you are under the protection of Yoga Maya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband. Devotee continued, My dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. Also, my Lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose. Maitreya continued, speaking to Vidura. O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase in the course of time. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all round with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. The palace looked charming with beds, couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral dyes. The palace was very beautiful, with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valued gates of gold. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of living live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these birds. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus, he personally addressed his wife as follows. Kardama speaking to Devahuti, who was very much shocked by what she saw. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First bathe in Lake Bindu Sarovara, created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of a human being. And then mount this airplane. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt, and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake, which contained the sacred waters of the Saraswati. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they gave her fine, new, spotless cloths to cover her body. Then they decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels, which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet, inebriating drink called asavam. Then in a mirror, she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland. Dressed in unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilak, she was served very respectfully by the maids. Her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic powers. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her own original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, by her charming breast duly girded, she was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy! His fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory, which was mastery over his self. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni with his consort shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes rows of lilies to open in ponds at night. In that aerial mansion, he traveled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasure of the gods, Kuvera, surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoys pleasure. Kardama Muni, also surrounded by the beautiful damsels, and his wife went there and enjoyed for many, many years. Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion not only on Mount Meru, but in different gardens known as Vaishrambhaka, Sarasana, Nandana, Pushpa Bhadraka, and Chaitaratya, and by the Manasa Sarovara lake. Of course, it may be that Kardama Muni even went to Guyana. He traveled in that way through the various planets as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction. Coursing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion which could fly at his will, he surpassed even the demigods. What is difficult to achieve for determined men who have taken refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Lotus feet. His feet, or the source of sacred rivers like the Ganges, which put an end to the dangers of mundane life. After showing his wife the globe of the universe and its different arrangements, full of many wonders, the great yogi Kardama Muni returned to his own hermitage. After coming back to his hermitage, he divided himself in 9 personalities just to give pleasure to Devahuti, the daughter of Manu, who was eager for sex life. And that way he enjoyed with her for many, many years, which passed just like a moment. In that aerial mansion, Devahuti, in the company of her handsome husband, situated on an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, could not realize how much time was passing. While the couple, who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure, were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed like a brief span of life. The powerful Kardamoni was the knower of everyone's heart, and he could grant whatever one desired. Knowing the spiritual soul, he regarded her as half of his body. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he impregnated Devahuti with 9 discharges of semen. Immediately afterwards, on the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of the red lotus flower. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but at heart she was agitated and distressed. She stood and scratched the ground with her foot, which was radiant with the luster of her gem-like nails. Her head bent down. She spoke in slow yet charming accents, suppressing her tears. Now Devahuti is speaking. My lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me. Yet because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too. My dear Brahmana, as far as your daughters are concerned, they will find their own suitable husbands and go away to their respective homes. But who will give me solace after your departure as a sannyasi? Until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time in sense gratification, neglecting to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the objects of the senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fear. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate into religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God must be considered dead, although he is breathing. My Lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I did not seek such liberation. So I will end the reading here. The next chapter 24 describes the renunciation of Kardama Muni and the appearance of Kapila Dev, the incarnation of the Lord. So I hope that everybody followed. And because it's 1 hour, I've read almost these wonderful descriptions from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe somebody would like to ask. I would just, if you allow, read today's verse and today's purport by Srila Prabhupada. So today's verse is chapter 21, verse 8. Tavat prasanno Bhagavan pushkaraksha krite yuge darshayam asatam kshattaha shabdam brahma dadat vapuhu. Then in the Satya Yuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to that Kardama Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. Purport. Here are 2 points are very significant, writes Srila Prabhupada. The first is that Kardama Muni attained success by yoga practice in the beginning of Satya Yuga, when people used to live for 100,000 years. Kardama Muni attained success, and the Lord, being pleased with him, showed him his form, which is not imaginary. Sometimes the impersonalists recommend that one can arbitrarily concentrate one's mind on some form of he imagines or which pleases him. But here it is very clearly said that the form which the Lord showed to Kardama Muni by his divine grace is described in the Vedic literatures, Shabda Brahman. The forms of the Lord are clearly indicated in the Vedic literature. Kardama Muni did not discover any imaginary form of God as alleged by rascals. He actually saw the eternal, blissful, and transcendental form of the Lord. So that was today's verse. So maybe we can discuss a little bit what we have just now read, these three chapters, chapter 21, 22, 23, which describe basically the story of Kardama Muni, his renunciation, and mainly his duty. He was duty bound to his father Brahma. As we read in the previous chapters, Brahma was empowered to create, and he created all kind of things which we read in the previous chapters, and now he's coming to create human beings through the Prajapatis. And Kardama Muni, as we see here, is one of the first Prajapatis. So anybody in the audience there who would like to ask some questions or would like to talk about this subject matter?
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Babaji, for reading these chapters. Very interesting. Of course, there are lots of questions. So dear devotees, if anyone may have question, comment, reflections, you may want to ask or share, as usual, indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Well, Prabhuji, thank you for doing the reading. Hamsadita Prabhu has something to ask about. You may unmute. Hamsadita Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, grace,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All right, thank you for the wonderful class. Please can I accept my respectful obeisances? All glory to Jagaguru Shri Prabhupada and all glory to wonderful assembly devotees. I have a reflection. I don't know if I'm the only person who is feeling that. I met someone in November and he was saying something to me about my Guru Maharaj, that he has never heard anybody speaking about the story of the pastime of Ram and Hanuman. And you can see that he's living the Leela. And I'm beginning to experience that from him. And today, I was listening to you very carefully. I did not hear everything, but I'm beginning to feel that the reaction and everything, I'm beginning to feel how you are living in the Leela. And I want to thank you so much for the mercy, for making me feel this nectar. This is my what I want to say. Thank you so much. It was so beautiful, and so I don't know how to say it. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you for that. But all glories to Srila Prabhupada, who kindly brought this Srimad Bhagavatam to us in the English language. For the first time, we are able to read these Leelas and to enjoy these fantastic transcendental Leelas by the grace of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, who brought the Bhagavatam and tirelessly translated canto after canto in the dead of night, after managing an organization and after managing hundreds of spaced out or not so spaced out disciples, depending, and having challenges from all kind of demons and oppositions. And still, Prabhupada had the time in the dead of night to take his dictaphone and dictate his translations and his Bhaktivedanta purports to these wonderful Leelas. And from the first canto to the 10th canto, 13th chapter, he tirelessly presented the Siddhanta and also imbued all of us, with these wonderful feelings towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without being in Prabhupada's association, we are lost. And therefore, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has placed Srila Prabhupada as our Siksha Guru for all of us. And we are always indebted to Srila Prabhupada. Not only can we read these wonderful pastimes, which we have just read, these pastimes of Kardama Muni, Devahuti, Svayambhuva Manu, this fantastic descriptions of places which we do not find nowadays in Kali Yuga, places which were there at the start of the Satya Yuga, beautiful places, absolutely heavenly. And throughout the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear all these discussions. Unfortunately, in the presence of Maitreya and Vidura, somewhere in the Himalayas. I mean, to go to Himalayas is nice, and go to Rishikesh and dance in some kind of a kirtan mela, and playing and singing and dancing and enjoying. This is all very nice. But here in the Bhagavatam, we have the chance of being in the presence of such great personalities like Maitreya Rishi and Vidura and Svayambhuva Manu and Kardama Muni. All these great personalities are there, they're alive. As you've rightly said, these are leelas which we can live through when we read Prabhupada's books. I mean, it's not Prabhupada's books, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam attentively and with love and devotion to the great personality that Srila Prabhupada was, that he brought all these things. I mean, just to add a little bit, recently I have been inspired to listen to some of the nice lectures that Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj gave, and also interviews that he gave to various personalities. And one of the interviews I've read, because Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj was a graduate from the Princeton University, a very prestigious university, and they organized in memory of him, not too long ago, I think it was 2023, they organized a wonderful commemoration, and there was a little interview that Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj gave to one of his friends from Princeton, where he described the fact that when he saw the devotees, he wasn't so, I would say, inspired by their looks and by their demeanor. He was quite, I would say, aloof, because he was an educated personality, very much engaged in the university life in Princeton. As I said, Princeton is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Don't forget that Princeton University had the Department of Atomic Physics, where the great scientists like Albert Einstein and others have been appointed as professors. So this was Princeton University, and Bhakti-tirtha Maharaj was at that university. So anyhow, but he was attracted to these books. Just like also Devamrita Swami, he was also, once I heard, he was not very impressed by the ways of devotees, how they looked, how they danced, dressed in sheets, shaved heads. They looked sort of like otherworldly. But the books he wanted. There's a very nice story with Devamrita Swami. Devamrita Swami once met Daivi Shakti Mataji, who's now in Vrindavan since about 45 years. He's one of the stalwarts. And it was in New York. And Devamrita Swami was from a well-to-do family in Manhattan. And he saw the devotees, but he always was careful to avoid them. But he corresponded with, because he got one book, he started to order more and more books from the BBT. And once he met Daivi Shakti and he asked if she has books. And she said, I will give you the books, but you have to give me a donation. He said, but I have no money here. So then she said, so I can go with you to your home and you can go and fetch money and give me money and I will give you all the books you want. So he went, Mataji went with him. And he went upstairs and he gave him he gave Devi Shakti, Devamrita gave Devi Shakti $2,000. And Devi Shakti, apparently, that's the story which I heard. She said, $2,000? Man, this is nothing. You can give $10,000. So Devamrita Swami, as I said, was a very well-to-do family. And I think his brother was the general manager of Toyota USA, whatever. Anyhow, he went upstairs and he gave another donation. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had a similar attitude, but he was totally impressed by this literature, totally impressed. And this is not because Srila Prabhupada invented anything. He was not one of these gurus who have charisma. Many times we speak of charismatic leaders or charismatic gurus, right? But Prabhupada wasn't this kind of a guru. He was a faithful servant of his spiritual master and an incredibly powerful and hard-working Vaishnava. He was so hardworking. He just like the 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan. He was incredibly hardworking. And here is the result, all these books. You know, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam until the 10th canto, 13th chapter was translated in a few years. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, if I remember well, was done within a few months. Krishna book, he dictated the whole Krishna book within a few months. The whole Bhagavad Gita as it is. So many wonderful scriptures. And the intelligent devotees like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Devamrita Swami, and many others, they were impressed by this huge body of knowledge, which was not speculation, but it was and is, till now, the paragon of transcendental knowledge. All Prabhupada's books are unequaled in this world of literatures today. Just nothing can equal his literature. So beautiful. Yeah. So yes, we should be all thankful that Srila Prabhupada came from India and delivered within 11 short years, 11 years, such a short time, delivered the whole world with transcendental literatures, flooded the world with transcendental literatures. So we are the recipients of his mercy, and we are made of his mercy. We have nothing else than his mercy. That's a fact. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So beautiful. Prabhuji, as you were reading through all the readings of this pastime of Kadamamuni and Devavati, like I said, there are lots of questions. I know, and I believe we all know that we've been advised not to imitate. We can try to learn from others, but we are never to imitate. There are 4 regulative principles we follow. And even those who are married, there is still some restrictions in how they can meet. But we are reading here Devavati, who is a daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, was so much attached to the husband up to the point that the husband had to expand himself into 9 different forms just to have an affair with the wife. And after all this enjoyment, the wife is now preaching to the world that sense gratification will not lead anyone to anywhere. Now the question is, did Devavati didn't know that this sense gratification will not take her anywhere? when she was asking her husband for all this sense gratification, or she only learned about it after she experienced it and understood that this will not take you anywhere? This is what I want to know from you, because it's quite, I'll hold off of what I want to say, but it's quite intriguing to hear Devawuti preach to us about sense gratification when she was so much into it. Prabhuji.
So
Oh, Krishna, Krishna.
anyhow, I just now, as I said, I've recently been involved and listening to nice classes and interviews by Bhaktitirtha Swami. And lately I've seen a very nice interview about Spiritual Warrior 2, transforming lust into love.
Yes.
That's the Spiritual Warrior number 2.
Yes.
So
yes.
that discussion about, I must admit, honestly, I haven't read that book, but in the discussion, the interview that Bhaktitirtha Maharaj gave, they spoke about this issue of lust being transformed into love when the two persons are filled with themselves, that they're complete. Because otherwise it's exploitation, you know. I mean, that's what Bhaktitirtha Maharaj very clearly explained, that man feels incomplete and the woman feels incomplete, and they think that by enjoying with each other, they can become complete. But this is not the fact, because from the very start, they're incomplete. So they simply are an illusion of completeness. And that's why most of the time, sex life turns into deception, turns into frustration, even, I would say. So in this case, sex life between Devahuti and Kardama was in a complete different setting, start of Satya Yuga. Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Kardama Muni, one of the first Prajapatis directly empowered to make progeny by Brahma, the creator of the whole universe, you know what I mean? So we're in a complete different setting here. However, your question is very relevant, because it is a fact that Devahuti, at the end of this pastime, when actually Kardama Muni was about to leave after fulfilling his duty, and actually he's at the very start, as we read, Kardama Muni agreed to Swayambhuva Manu to accept Devahuti as his wife under the condition that he will go leave her at a certain point and retire and pursue the path of spiritual self-realization, right? So anyhow, the fact that Devahuti is the wife of Swayambhuva Manu is revealing that for the time being, for the duty that she had to perform, she accepted this, I would say, love, sexual love, you know. I think Bhakti Tirtha also, in this interview which I've seen, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has described that sexual activities, the reunion of man and woman, when it is done in the spirit of love, it is authorized. And Krishna says himself in the Bhagavad Gita that sex life, which is not
life.
Huh?
He said his sex life, and it's not contrary to religious principles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here we see Devahuti and Kardama, they were completely and totally performing their duty of sexual intercourse and producing children under the religious rules, completely, right? In a setting which you can't imagine. I mean, you know, you came where do you live in New York? You live in New York?
I live in Harrisburg, which is Pennsylvania.
Never mind. So you flew from New York, I guess, to Guyana by plane. Can you imagine? So I don't think your plane was as comfortable as the palace.
No, not at all.
And mainly the airports. I mean, the plane, okay, when you're in the plane.
Yeah.
but airports are hellish places, you know.
Yes.
I can't stand
Yeah.
airports. So just
Yeah.
imagine this wonderful setting in which they produced these 9 daughters, Kardamamuni and Devahuti, the setting that they had and the enjoyment that they could perform out of love and duty. They were duty bound, both of them. So at the conclusion of this, Devahuti again regained her spiritual awareness. And then she started to describe the fact that sense gratification is simply a burden. She was a, don't forget, Devahuti, daughter of the first king of the universe, Swayambhuva Manu, you know. I mean, she wasn't an ordinary lady, you know. So these are all pastimes, as Prabhu has said in his
Yeah.
appreciation. These are leelas, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Devahuti, these are we are meeting all these personalities. That's again, once again, Prabhupada's mercy that we're meeting
Yeah.
such great personalities. Maitreya Muni, I mean Maitreya Rishi. You know, there's no one who could be as learned and spiritually advanced today like Maitreya Rishi, you know, living in the Himalayas, you know. And even the Buddhists and even other impersonalists, they all worship Maitreya Rishi, you know. It's not only the Vaishnavas who worship
Yeah.
Maitreya Rishi, but Buddhists worship Maitreya Rishi, and the impersonalists all worship Maitreya Rishi, who is one of the most advanced spiritualists in this universe, you know. And here we are listening to Maitreya Rishi, sitting somewhere in Guyana or in the Czechoslovak Republic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that nice? I find
Very,
it
very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. See, Prabhu, it's this world is full of mysteries. And I don't know if we can have answers to all of them, but there are some that some of us would like to have answers to. One is this Kadamamuni, when he created this aerial
Palace.
airplane, more, yes, like an airplane that flies everywhere, you know, with all these decorations. The description is fantastic.
Mm.
Now, I am not sure whether Kadamamuni, being a Muni, was able to build this because he had so much devotion for Krishna, or it was simply because of his own practices of being a Muni, being a yogi. Because what Kadamamuni did, that is why it is quite easy for lots of us as Africans to take to Krishna consciousness. Because lots of what we read from the scriptures are all experienced in our region.
Mm.
We have, Srila Prabhupada said there are 3 methods one can fly: one by broom, one by carpet, one by mantra. And our ancestors somehow or other knew all these sciences. We had some of our ancestors, they can fly by using broom, some by using carpet, some by using mantras.
Pigeons.
But yeah, but these people, they did not have anything to do with bhakti yoga. So I am wondering, how is it that if it happens in India, we glorify that these people are highly spiritually evolved? If it happens in Africa, they are not. And so I just want to know if a yogi being able to create these things as a result of his own yogic prowess, or it is because there is devotion attached to it. I don't know, because back home in Africa, most of these people, They do not have bhakti as we know it, as Srila Prabhupada has given to us, yet they are able to perform lots of this mysticism, and sometimes even much more than what we read. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it, but I'm just wondering, how does the Lord allow things like that to happen by these yogic powers?
Well, one must understand that the powers of mysticism, the powers of transmigration, like Bhaktitirtha Maharaj was very much involved in thought reading. Bhaktitirtha Maharaj was also quite expert in various mystical sciences. He was very much involved with these things. So it is a fact that we are living in an extremely materialistic society. I think that one of the nice words that I heard from Bhaktitirtha Maharaj lately also was the fact that we are lacking community, but we have too many commodities, that commodities are replacing communities.
Yeah.
And once again, commodities are replacing communities. And that's why this age of technology and artificial intelligence, right? And all the commodities like the internet and YouTube and you name it, these commodities are taking over the communities. The communities are dwindling, and people are now being very much isolated in their own corner. And the community life is being hampered by the overproduction of various commodities, and people are mad after commodities, money mainly. There's also a statement which we read today that materialistic people, are mad after money, and the Vedas are there to alleviate this problem, and the sages are teaching people how to become spiritually aware. So anyhow, there are rare personalities in this world, in Africa particularly, as you have described, who have still the community with other spiritually or mysticism-oriented personalities, and they still cultivate these various mystic sciences, and thus they can perform miracles. There are shamans, as we described in the last lecture that I gave. There are shamans everywhere, not only in Africa, but in Tibet. There are many shamans, Buddhist shamans. Shamanism was actually very, very powerful in Tibet, and still now they have people who can appear and disappear, although no one knows where they appeared and why they appeared, and they can. Prabhupada was once also describing at Kumbh Mela that there are some yogis who come there through the water. They dip somewhere in a river and they come out in Triveni. And he told devotees that some of these yogis are 300, 400 years old, So that's the community, right? And if we understand the power of community of mystics, communities of devotees, communities of magicians, these are communities. Mind you, all these great mystics or magicians, as I would call them even, they're part of a community of other magicians. They have learned to be magicians or shamans from other shamans. It's not from their own head, So in this way, this reality is hidden from people because they are nowadays overwhelmed with commodities, with all kind of material amenities, and forgetting that there are other levels of consciousness, that there are other realities than our reality. This planet, there are other planets and other living beings on other planets. They've lost. People are lost nowadays. So therefore, if we distribute this literature profusely in Africa or wherever, we will awaken mainly the sense of community of many people. There are so many stories, of Sankirtan devotees who have met communities which have felt great affiliation to Prabhupada's books and to the Vedic knowledge, Just to mention one, in Israel, there are, of course, Israel is mainly a Jewish state, but there are communities of Druzes. They're called Druzes. They're actually Christian with a Muslim background also, right? And the devotees there, they went to one of these Druzes villages, and the head priest, I would say the head priest of this Druze, he was absolutely amazed when they gave him Prabhupada's books. He said, these are the books that our ancestors have been reading, and we have gained knowledge from these books, and now you're bringing these books to us. I want all of them, you know. And this is not the only thing. I think that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when he was in Africa, he met so many Zulus and other shamans who were impressed by his personality, not because of his personality, but because he represented the community of Vaishnavas, Vaishnava Acharyas, you know. He was empowered by the community of Vaishnava Acharyas, the parampara, we call it, right? So this is a fact. So the communities of mystics, the communities of magicians, or communities of people who know that there are other powers than just the mechanical powers, then of course there are few nowadays. This is a fact.
Well, thank you so much. There are very few.
Very
There are
few.
very few, yes. Very few.
Very few, and they're
Yeah.
isolated.
Yes.
Many of them are isolated,
Yeah.
and many of them they also become polluted
Yeah.
by this materialistic commodities civilization. You know, this
Yeah.
everything. It's a fact. Once I met because we're living in a Christian land, Czechoslovakia, Europe in general, and I used to go and deliver Srimad Bhagavatam sets to the libraries of the monasteries in Czech and also Germany and Austria, Switzerland. And here in Czech, I visited several times a Benedictine monastery, and the abbot of this monastery, we became like friends, you know. And he bought because at the start we didn't have the whole set, but I bought him each new publication, second canto, third canto, fourth canto, up to the sixth canto. Then he passed away, and I brought him each volume in the Czech language, and he was very impressed. He bought every single book. He read them. Not that he just bought them, he read them. And once he told me that Srila Prabhupada was one of those people who the Bible was describing, that he will come from the East, a great prophet will come from the East and reestablish religion at its pure sense, you know. An abbot of a Benedictine monastery told me this, you know. And once he also told me, which was very nice, that he's not so much disturbed that people are not Catholic, you know, Benedictines or Catholics, that people are not Catholics. He said, what matters for me is that the people have become godless, right? Not Catholic, but godless. That, he said, is terrible, you know, that the people are not more interested in Catholic religion, that they don't go to church. He said that doesn't disturb me so much as the fact that they are godless. They're totally godless, right? So the community, once again, of the monks, Benedictine monks in their monastery, they live separately, and they're becoming scarce, you know. You know, here in Europe, many monasteries of ladies' monasteries and men's monasteries are becoming vacant. People are leaving the monasteries. Spiritual life, renunciation, austerities, they're not regarded as something that people are interested in. So they're closing down the monasteries. They're selling churches.
Yeah.
And because people are become so materialistic, right?
Yeah.
It's a fact. I'll tell you one story from an advertisement. That's a really far out story, you know. There was an advertisement for one of the well-known chocolate sweet. So the advertisement goes like this: a young boy and a young girl have a fight. They have a quarrel. And the young man becomes completely desperate, and he's frustrated. He leaves and says, my girlfriend left me, and he's completely frustrated. So he goes, and now I'll become a monk, and I'm going to go to a monastery. So he comes in front of the big door of the monastery, right? And he rings the bell, ding, 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 and he's waiting. And as he is waiting, he reaches into his pocket and takes one of these chocolates, takes off the paper from this chocolate, eats it, and throws this paper on the ground. At that very moment, the door opens, and out comes one of the monks, and he sees no one's there. No one's there. And just he sees a piece of paper from this chocolate on the ground. So he picks up this piece of paper, the wrapper from the chocolate, and he throws it in a bin, which is filled with the same chocolate papers. That was the advertisement for this chocolate, directly attacking the asceticism, renunciation, as being something which is not good for people, and it's better to eat chocolate. Horrible, horrible, you know. This it's a direct attack on austerity and renunciation.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is what they're doing. The advertisement industry is working subconsciously, influencing people to leave communities and join and enjoy commodities. It's very
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I have something to ask on this, but we'll go to Her Grace Sati Devi. Sati Devi, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
I'll tell a little chocolate pastime on that chocolate thing is that when I lived in Ghana, I used to be in the temple chanting japa in the temple room, and I used to keep a piece of a King's Bite candy bar in my in my ashram, and I would go in between my japa rounds and put a piece of the chocolate in my mouth when I was chanting japa back and forth. I did this for a long time. But I gave up chocolate though after some time, and I told my Guru Dev, and he was so proud of me. But I just remember I used to do that. So he reminded me of that. I remember that Chandramali Swami said in one class that this desire to like this idea that we can find happiness in this material world is like blocking our spiritual life from progressing. And I think that's something I suffer from, because sometimes my mind still thinks it can find happiness here. Like if I just do it this way or tweak it this way, I can be happy here. So that's something that you reminded me of. And then just when you were telling the pastimes, you sounded a lot like Borjan Maharaj. I like to listen to him a lot. Whenever I need to relax or calm myself, I listen to Borjan Maharaj tell his pastimes. And so you also reminded me of him when you were telling pastimes. So that's all I wanted to say.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sati. Well, I'm happy that it's true that your Gurudev is happy that you gave up on chocolate. It's not easy for ladies to give up on chocolate. So kudos to you. But probably just like Sati Devi was saying, I once was preaching to one Indian back home in Ghana. And those days, I used to do like TV and radio programs. So I was trying to speak to this particular Indian guy to help sponsor one of the radio programs I was doing so that he would get free advert for his business. And he wasn't interested. He told me, why does he need to do advertisement for his products? His products are already selling, so he doesn't need advertisements. Most rich people, most well-to-do people, they don't care about God. No, they don't care about God because whatever they want to have in life, they have. So usually, those who are poor, they are praying to God for help. So poor people turn to God. Those who are really well-to-do, they do very, very seldom that well-to-do people will turn to God. In the same way, those who are mystically powerful, they don't care much about God because they can conjure things, they can make things happen. But here we see Kadamamuni, after creating this aerial space, and it was, according to the narration, it was even an amazement to he himself. He was amazed at the aerial space that he himself created. Nevertheless, after fulfilling his household business, he came back to continue his discipline. But most of us are not like that. So my question to you is, what will be your advice to us when we are chasing after so much wealth, when we are chasing after so much mystical powers, which can derail us from the little devotional service we have for Guru and Krishna today? What are the chances that we can hold on to our devotional service to Guru and Krishna in our so-called financially struggling condition or mystically crippled condition today, instead of becoming spiritually, psychically powerful tomorrow, financially well-to-do tomorrow? What are the chances that we can hold on to our spiritual life? What are the chances that those things may derail us? And whichever the case, what will be your advice to us as struggling devotees wanting to be living a better life, financially speaking, and psychically reasoning?
Honestly, once again, I'll come to this spiritual warrior books that your Guru Maharaj wrote. And, transforming lust into love. Love is, I would say, one thing that we all need more than anything else, right? People who, as you have described, or after material riches, well-to-do, they can have a yacht in the Caribbeans and a private jet, and they can go every winter to ski in Switzerland, etc., etc. They are after commodities. They are not after community, and thus they are not happy. They are not happy. I would say prasadam is one of our secret weapons. You know what I mean? We have here in Prague, in the Czech Republic, we call it. We have in Prague 4 Govinda restaurants. And in each Govinda restaurant, we have clients which are going to take prasadam since 25 years, every day. We have people working at the ministers, and people who are normal job people, businessmen, you name it, just ordinary folks, They come to take prasadam because just recently, I will tell you, I have been I worked at the university for 15 years. And one day of course, I'm also one of these prasadam addicts. So I was in our Govinda in Prague, and suddenly I see one of my colleagues come in, and he says, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm dining prasadam here." And he said he cannot eat anything else but prasadam. He cannot eat anything else but prasadam. And there are many of these people, who have been completely satisfied by taking or honoring, as we say in English, honoring prasadam. So right next door to our Govinda is a 5-star luxurious restaurant where the menu costs like $200. And our menu, by the way, costs about $8. Complete menu, So it's completely different, right? But mind you, the people who honor prasadam on a regular basis in our Govinda restaurant, they come out of the Govinda restaurant completely satisfied, happy. Because not only that they tasted karma-free food, KFF, you know, KFC, we have KFF, you know, karma-free food. So not only that, but they have been a part of a community. Whereas if they go to this luxurious 5-star restaurant and eat for $200, $300 a meal, they first of all didn't become a part of a community. The restaurant people don't know them. They don't know the people from the restaurant, all the service and cooks and etc., etc. And second of all, and that's most important, when they go out of the restaurant, they're not happy. They're not happy. They have to go and have a cup of coffee, and they have to have a cigarette, and they can have a little alcohol like liquor and they're not happy. They go from one restaurant to another and they never become satisfied. Then they go to a club and stay there until 2 in the morning dancing and getting intoxicated with various drugs which are available, and they're not happy. They're always unhappy, you know. So we understand that happiness comes from love, but not lust. And that love is cultivated in a community. So therefore, Prabhupada has founded the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to create a community of devotees. And one of the activities that devotees are do is sharing prasadam. You know, sharing prasadam, sharing, like, for example, right now we are sharing intimate questions and answers back and forth, although we are using the electronic media, but still we are sharing, you know, that's love, you know. And this is something that people don't understand, that the ultimate love is loving God. And this is something that we lack so much. Whenever I go on a japa walk, lately I've been thinking about it. I was kind of like, you know, disturbed. Why don't I love God? Why don't I love God? You know, and just this question, although I'm trying, but still I don't love God. This is something that I'm striving for still, you know, but that is the highest form of love. And we are fortunate enough that we have in this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that we do have Srila Prabhupada in his Vani, books, lectures, conversations. We have Prabhupada with us constantly, you know. Everywhere he went, there was a microphone in his mouth, and we were constantly in contact with a person who loved God. Prabhupada loved God like anything. He was crying for God. You know, he was trembling for God. He was constantly absorbed in love of God, you know. So we're very lucky that we can be in his, but we can have his Vani, his association, and the association of his disciples who have also experienced love of God, and they are filled with love for. If you love Srila Prabhupada, you automatically come later, sooner or later, to loving God. If you love Srila Prabhupada. And there's so many devotees, disciples and grand disciples, of course, who love Srila Prabhupada. Recently, one of my friends, devotees at the temple, he's a disciple of Prabhupada's disciple, but he told me, I only listen to Prabhupada's lectures. He said, that's the only thing I do. I constantly listen to his lectures. You know, he's not a direct disciple, but he's a grand disciple. And as we say, the grandfather is more merciful than the father, you know, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think that, yes, we do have struggles, we do have ups and downs, but if we keep the association, the community of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and don't find faults in other devotees necessarily, and if we do find faults, then we can just ignore them, as Kavi Chandra Maharaj told yesterday, that we should concentrate on the qualities of the devotees and not on their discrepancies, or I would say incongruities in their attitudes, lifestyles, etc. We can just, one of our visitors, we had a visitor from Malaysia, an absolutely amazing sannyasi. It's called Bhakti Mukunda Swami. He's from Malaysia. He was here for 2 weeks. Fantastic. I called him Shruti Dhara. He can remember all the verses from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya, whatever. Amazing. And he said, and I marked that, the only one who is entitled to criticize a disciple is his guru. We have nothing to do with criticizing others. It's the guru who will criticize or correct his disciple, not us. It's not up to us. We should always understand that it's the duty of the guru to correct the disciple, not us correcting another person, you know. So this is an attitude that we should develop. And as far as money is concerned, as far as, you know, as we call it, the rat race, who said that? That I've been, the whole life, I've been a rat in a rat race, and at the end of a life, I'm still a rat. So we can be the whole life in a rat race, but at the end of the life, or like at a certain point in life, we should stop being a rat. We should start being a human being, you know. And so this is a society. We have such a nice international society that Prabhupada has created, and we should keep association. And now we have a wonderful festival there in Guyana. And very, very well organized. I've seen how
Very, 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 very well organized.
fantastic. And yeah,
I'm so happy that a few of us were able to be here. You get to feel how genuinely devotees around the world are prepared to, quote unquote, die for Srila Prabhupada. We may try to talk about it some other time, but it's very beautiful. Well, Prabhuji, one quick thing I would like to say. Thank you so much for this class. There is something you said just now. You were just repeating the Swami you talked about, something Mukunda Maharaj.
Bhakti Mukunda Maharaj from Malaysia.
Bhakti Mukunda Maharaj in Malaysia. Yes. That I disagree. I disagree. If I say I disagree, it does not mean that whoever is saying is not correct. Because I'm nobody. But I disagree that if we are living in a community, just as you referenced my Gurudev several times, I should say, that people are running from community to commodity. If we are living in a community and only the spiritual master can correct an individual, then there will always be a problem in the community. If the correction is coming out of aggression, hate, animosity, then there is a problem. But I do not understand why, and I've said this before, that if we live in a community, if like we live in a temple, we're all living in a temple, and I am doing something wrong, and none of the devotees there can tell me what wrong thing I'm doing. They all have to wait for my guru to come from wherever, whenever to tell me that there is a problem. And so this well-intended idea that nobody should correct anybody except the guru can be taken in a very wrong way, and so many things will go wrong way. Things will die out. Nothing good will come out of it. My approach, and I'm saying my approach, it does not mean it's the best, but my approach is that if I am doing something wrong and somebody sees that I'm doing something wrong, approach me, tell me about it. Personally, I don't even care how you say it. Others may care how you say it. So we have to be careful how we say it. But personally, I don't care how you say it. If I am doing something wrong and you come to tell me, I will say thank you. And I will listen to you and I reassess myself. But this idea that nobody should correct anybody except the guru, it's hard for me to accept it.
Well,
that is my view.
no, you're absolutely right. The fact is that we have a structure in a community, and the structure is in such a way made that usually in a normal situation, which is very rare, the guru lives with his disciples. The disciples live in the ashram, and the guru is there present always. You understand what I mean?
But that is
But we
not
don't
the
have this
case in this
situation.
quantum system. Yes.
Exactly, we don't have this
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
We have, when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, we did have this kind of situation. Anything that happened, everybody would ultimately refer to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would correct that person.
Yeah.
One example for all. One of the disciples who was a temple president was not chanting his rounds. And even there was suspicion that he doesn't follow the four regulative principles. The temple president, right? So the devotees went to Srila Prabhupada and said, this man doesn't chant his rounds, and maybe he doesn't even follow some of the regulative principles. And Srila Prabhupada told this devotee, thank you for the information, but it's not of your business to correct this devotee. He is my disciple, and I will correct him personally and see to it that he shapes up. But it's not because you are junior in the position, not maybe by age, but in the position, you are junior and you have to respect the etiquette, right? So that's the ideal situation when the guru is one. There's only one guru. And everybody referred to Srila Prabhupada in those days. And Prabhupada was correcting people. And when other devotees were correcting other devotees, Prabhupada didn't like that. He said, it's my duty to correct my disciples, right? So this is the ideal situation. Now, you're absolutely right that in a situation which is now where the guru is, I don't know, in another place in the planet, and now you're in a community and someone or you are doing some nonsense and not following the principles or the chant, that someone comes to you and not criticize you. Criticism is something which I don't think it's what I was talking about is criticism. I'm not speaking about asking somebody, as you have rightly said, Prabhu, maybe it's not very good to do this or that, And if the person is not in the false ego, like you, for example, then you accept this kind of a correction from another devotee, even the junior devotee, right? If you're not in the false ego. But unfortunately, I've noticed, for example, in our yatra, we have persons who are in the position and they do things which are not acceptable by other devotees. But if you tell him, that person will blast you that you're an offender, that you cannot criticize him because he's a temple president, whatever, what I mean? So then what ensues in such a situation, and I agree with you in this connection, is that there's an atmosphere of mistrust which installs itself in the community, and the community, instead of synergy, creates atomization, which means that instead of the devotees working in cooperation and synergies, atomization, with everybody runs away in his corner in his private life and doesn't want to get involved. That's a very dangerous situation. You're absolutely right. But that's
well, thank you so much.
No, you're
Shrimara Prabhu, do you have something to say? We're rounding up, but if you have something to say, please go ahead. We would like to hear from you.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhu.
Jai.
All glory to Prabhu. Thank you very much. You just answered my question. So so I don't need to ask that question again. But I seriously want to say something about a community by design. which is one of those things that our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj wrote about. Different communities come about either by accident, by design, or by something. So community by design, you expect that there will be structure where people can feel safe to speak out, to lay complaints, and expect that there will be some remedy or some address. The situation will be addressed. Our ISKCON community supposedly, so I don't know whether it is actually very, very much by design or maybe it's just coming up, fit and start in one way or the other. But if our community is really by design, whether the guru is there or not, which is like the sole authority, if we have a system in place where we can go with our complaints, I mean, like the normal society, people go to the police, people go to the court, and they're quiet. They're simply waiting for judgment to take place. Nobody is making us around or getting disturbed because they know the matter is in the court. But now we have to resort to most of the time, we have to resort to the civil court because we cannot undo our own situation, because we don't have that trust or we don't have that structure. Whereas Prabhupada was envisaging a society whereby all these type of facilities will be available. That's why he said Vanashram is necessary as our society is growing. So I pray that we can gradually start to see the need to put certain structure in place, not in name, but in practice, from the small temple to the bigger society, where whenever there is something going wrong, that there is a system in place where people can go and speak out their mind and expect that things will be remedied. And I hope that day will come when we can include that into our system of functioning. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I'm joining you in your prayers.
Prabhuji, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, in fact, my apologies, my obeisances. There is one hand up. If we may take this and then we'll bring this to a close. Mother Rati Devi, please, you may unmute. Rati is my godmother, even though she is my god sister, but she nurtured me in devotional service, so she's very dear to me. And I'm very grateful to have her association here today. Mother Rati, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Pranams. Yeah, just like what you said just now, when the Prabhuji finished speaking, you said you disagreed with what he was saying. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
how about the setting that a devotee, maybe an elderly, senior devotee, is doing something wrong, and few people notice that he's doing something wrong, and they try to correct him, or they go to him to correct. How, and he's still insisting that what he is doing is right. How will you handle such situation? People have gone to him to tell him that, oh, Prabhuji, this thing you are doing is not right, is that, but he's still insisting that what he is doing is right. If he's to accept that it's wrong, how will you handle such situation?
Well,
I'll let Prabhu answer. Jagredev Prabhu, please.
can I?
Yes, please.
So this is an important question, and the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the GBC Executive Committee has deputed a devotee who is called, he is in charge of the ombudsman. He's the conflict resolution personnel. I forgot now his name. He does anyhow, he's...
Brajabihari.
Huh?
Brajabihari.
Yeah, Brajabihari, sorry.
Brajabihari.
Yeah, Brajabihari. What was his name again?
Brajabihari.
Brajabihari. Yeah.
Yes.
So he is the man who's in charge of the conflict resolutions. And I've met him once or twice. So definitely, if such a case appears that you don't have any possibilities of being heard or changing things which you or someone considers as not good being done by that person or this person. I would assume that it is possible for any devotee to contact Braja Bihari and on his email, or you find he is the conflict resolution personality, has also assistants, and he is ready to help. I've spoke with him. I've told him that we have a similar situation here in this country, in the Czechoslovakia. Sometimes also we would need help. And he said he's aware of it, but sometimes it takes long. And plus that, and that's my realization, don't forget we're a very young society, very young society. We are 60 years. 60 years is nothing, you know. Christianity was in a state of despair 1,200 years after it was founded. So we're relatively doing good, you know, after 60
Yeah.
years, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, but we still have to learn. There's many things to be learned in the future, and I think that the fact that ISKCON has established this office of conflict resolution is there, that we can eventually, if it's really required, approach
Yeah.
Raja Bihari by
Oh,
email.
yeah, on.
Yeah, so it's possible, but as I said, I think that we are a young society. We're still going through our growth pains, as we call it, and sometimes we have persons who are in a position which is not very, I would say, that they're not really good for that position, but they are attached to the position because there's some money involved and some power, you know, whatever. When one becomes attached to position and to power, it's a very, very bad thing, you know. I've seen it with my godbrothers. In their spiritual life was destroyed because they had a position of big power and big money, you know, and dangerous. So better. But as I said before, the danger is that instead of synergies, we have atomization, and that is something that is I've seen throughout ISKCON now, except maybe in India, but even there, the communities are being more and more atomized, that people are living in their own lives and they come to the temple from time to time or for some festival, but then everybody disappears in this corner, you know. And that's one of the reasons is this sort of like the helplessness. I cannot change anything. Okay, so I'll just do my own thing.
Well, thank you so much for everything. And Rati Devi, thank you so much for your question. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have dealt with this situation a couple of times in my own devotional life. My disease is that it's almost impossible for me to keep my mouth shut when I find deviation.
Yeah.
Not deviation on any particular individual's sadhana. I'm also struggling in my own sadhana. But if somebody is deviating to give a bad image to ISKCON, then it's a problem. Then I don't know how I can keep quiet. We just heard from lectures we heard yesterday, where one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, died. And just as he was about to be disposed of, he woke up. He came back from his death. And he shared his experience that he was dead. He was in the court of Yamaraj, and Yamaraj apologized to him that they made a mistake. So if Yamaraj can make a mistake, who are we that we cannot make mistake? No matter who we are, we can make mistake. And like I said, the only thing I always pray against is when I'm addressing what I deem to be a deviation or to be an impropriety, I do not do that in a matter of false pride or me being better than anybody.
No, it's you are not malicious. You're not malicious in your criticism.
No. But it's. I mean, I really appreciate the response you gave, and I believe Sri Prabhupada, in his infinite wisdom, designed ISKCON in such a way that everybody is subordinated to somebody. So if the person in charge of a particular situation is not handling it the way it's supposed to be handled, and is being approached and is still adamant, there is somebody superior to him or her. We go to that person. That's what we do. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Like Srimad Prabhu said, our Gurudev helped train us to try to live in a community. So we want to try to build that community where everybody will feel that they are part of the community and they have the freedom to express themselves. The community is not for one person, it's for all of us. And if it's for all of us, everybody has a say in the community. So this is what we're trying to build. Hare Krishna. And with that being said, Jai Gurudev Prabhu, we cannot thank you enough, being our such a sincere, humble uncle. I'm here speaking like I'm the speaker, but you you permitted me to speak. Thank you so much. But truly, we'll try to find some time to share with devotees the experiences we have in here in Guyana with this legacy festival. It's amazing. It's fantastic. If your devotion is dead, it will be revived instantly. So thank you so much, Prabhuji.
So invite me. I would like to come next time.
Well, we were invited. So
yeah, you're the spiritual warriors.
Well, that's what they say we are. Well, Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to our revered uncle, great uncle to some of us, His Grace Jai Gurudev, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Please, you may all unmute. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Chakalpata, Chakalpata, Tarapavadabhya, Vaishnavadeva Namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to His Grace Jai Gurudev Prabhu Ki Jai. All glories to Jagat Guru Krishna Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samar Vaishnava devotees Ki Jai.
All glories to the Legacy Festival in Guyana. Ki
Jai.